So what we want to do now is we want to play some of his comments about Stephen A. Smith and his coverage about Kawhi Leonard, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what he had to say here.
Perfectly healthy, and both of their wide receivers are in. Stafford could look like the champion that he is. But before we get to that story, I wanted to ask the group what kind of interest level there was on everything that was leaking out yesterday involving Kawhi Leonard and Kawhi Leonard's trainer suing the Clippers, because I thought this was the biggest story from yesterday in sports. And I also thought that the last 10 years of this player and the ingredients around this player have made it so bewildering that Stephen A. Smith, who's bouncing between Hannity and doing the first take thing that him and Skip Bayless birthed all over sports debate television, called him the worst superstar in sports ever. And I have that commentary on First Take. And I'm looking at some of these lawsuit details, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. If they totally screwed up this guy's body and somebody who was actually caring about him since he was in college was trying to help get his body right, and now he's suing the Clippers when it's a person who was also involved with everything that was happening with the Spurs and that medical condition, you've got the quietest superstar we've ever seen in sports leaving the Spurs under suspicious circumstances, and now you've got his trainer with the Clippers turning around and saying, hey, I didn't agree with his care. And Kawhi Leonard is viewed as somebody who, when we saw him play, he's the last guy who took down everybody as just one guy. Everything around him has been super teams. He started with a super team as the third or fourth best player on it. He's a multi-time champion. And he's been the number one on one of the champions, and LeBron only feared him when he was on the Spurs as a young player. This is a great player who has been damaged by his medical care, and I don't think anybody in sports cares.
He ended the Durant Warriors. I don't want to say ended the Warriors because they ended up winning another title afterwards, but he did so with one of the greatest individual efforts while never having 2 feet off the ground. If you watch that, it's crazy. It's so much old man game, and it's just like, I'll dial up my body when I need to.
So what are my thoughts on this? Kawhi Leonard is low-hanging fruit. He's an easy target because, number one, he doesn't talk so much. And number two, for him constantly being injured. It's one of the reasons you have Charles Barkley ranking him out of the top 50 players in the NBA, although last year he made the all-second team, but then somehow, because he's always injured, but then somehow found a way to rank Joel Embiid in his top 10. And now we're hearing that he may have been misdiagnosed, or maybe the treatment they were giving him was incorrect based on the lawsuit that came out against him from a former medical staff member. So to me, look, I don't think Kawhi Leonard's image is going to ever be rehabilitated unless he plays and plays well. That simple.